So here we are again. I'm Blanca Vergara from Parenting the Gods, and we have a brand new guest, my dear friend Amethyst Wyldfyre. It's very difficult to introduce this woman. You will love her. She calls herself the Empress of Empowerment, and she does. She has empowered me since I met her. She empowers people who are messengers. And maybe you are one of them and you might not know it. You have a message there in your heart and you need to let it out. And what I notice is really one on one that all these parents that are having children nowadays, they are messengers. And that's the reason why I call Amethyst. Hey, I have a group of parents, and I think all these guys 100% are messengers. So that's the reason why I invited her, and that's the hat or the glasses that I want you to have while you are listening to this interview. She's going to talk to you from the point of view that you have a message to give, and the reason why why I'm so certain that you have a message to give is because you are a parent. So welcome, Amethyst. I'm so delighted to have you here.
Thank you so much, Blanca. I am delighted to be here, and I feel exactly what you just said is absolutely true. Because for me, I ended up getting activated and catalyzed into my role as a messenger as a result. It was one of the results of becoming a parent. So I think you're absolutely right, and this parenting journey is providing for me and for you and for all the parents that are listening. I'm sure a lot of fodder for messaging, and for really being mindful about how the experience of parenting actually crystallizes all kinds of interesting and amazing insights and breakthroughs and messages that really need to be shared with other people. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, when we talk about in parenting the gods very often has a lot to do with your work. We talk a lot about conscious parenting, a lot about conscious communication, and you are everything about that, and also conscious entrepreneurship. So you add this other dimension to the conversation. I would like to ask you if I know that this is a journey of all your life, but maybe you want to choose one of your pivotal moments when you said, "Wow, this is consciousness," and maybe your example of parenting, what brought you deeper, an awakening that you had, if you wish.
Okay, so one of the pivotal change points in my life was directly related to being a parent. I had an experience with my child that was pretty traumatic. It was a really traumatic experience for him and for me and for the whole family. And he was a very small child. And part of what was catalyzed out of that experience was an even deeper commitment and an even deeper desire to be present for him as a parent. And it allowed me to really recognize for myself, it was part of the catalyst of my own consciousness journey. It allowed me to recognize for myself the, the value of my time and how I wanted to allocate my time. And it really started me on the journey of becoming conscious as an entrepreneur, of becoming more conscious as a parent, and of becoming more conscious as a person. And it allowed me, that experience really gave me the grace to be clear about what my priorities were and to be mindful about how I organized myself, my business, my message, so that I was serving my purpose. I was serving the message out to the people who needed to hear it, who were praying to hear validation for themselves. And I was also serving in my role as a parent, with that really being the top priority. And part of being a parent, part of playing that role, I've been a single parent for most of my son's life. So that also really required me to become a provider. Uh, you know, I did receive child support from my first husband, but child support is like tiny, tiny, tiny little amounts of money compared to what the real investment is in raising a child. So I needed to know how to monetize, and I needed to know how to monetize in a way that was serving my purpose and getting my message out, and allowed me to create the lifestyle that I wanted, where I could be creative, I could make art, I could spend time parenting my son and reading to him every night when he was little, but when he got older, was able to have the flexibility to go to the football games and be the mom who brought the brownies that I baked myself in the oven and didn't buy at the grocery store, because those were important things for me to do.
Yeah, you bet, you bet. That's for me so important. I don't want to buy cakes.
I
I,
want to make things with my own hands,
yeah,
right?
I do have time to be a mom. This time abundance, and all the demands and sometimes demands that we put on ourselves. Um, how do you manage that? Because I know that you do it very graciously and very consciously.
Well, I've really created a business model for myself, Blanca, that when I started in this particular business 5 years ago, I tried a number of things. So first of all, for those of you who are watching this and who are listening, um, don't be discouraged if you try things and they don't work out. Just be quick when something's not working out. Be quick to stop doing it, right? And try something else. And it's kind of a delicate dance. We have to move between giving things enough time to germinate and potentially grow into something, and knowing when. There's a song by Kenny Rogers. It was knowing when to hold them and knowing when to fold them, and it's about playing poker. So you have to know when to fold them too. You have to know when things are not working so that you can try something else. So on my own entrepreneurial journey, my number one priority was to make sure that I had flexibility, that I could do the laundry, attend to the skinned knee, talk to the little friend who came over after school and was curious and wanted to have some dialogue with me, to be able to have PJ day when we had no school because it snowed. All of those things were like really the top level of priority for me, to make sure that I had the space time for that. And and I needed to also express myself. If I wasn't expressing myself, if it wasn't in balance in some way, then I was no good as a mom either. So I did try a number of things. When I first had my own spiritual awakening, I actually left my old work. I was working in the real estate business, and I had two partners. And at the end of that career, I didn't know it was the end at that time, but at the end of that career, we were building 51 single family houses, 56 apartments, and an office building. And I was working a lot of hours and trying to be the mom that I wanted to be at the same time. And eventually the tension got to be so bad that I knew I had to leave. I knew that if I didn't go, I was going to die. Literally, I was going to die. And at that same time, I was having spiritual awakening and becoming more aware, more conscious, and we were going through this trauma. So like all of this stuff was happening at once. And I knew things weren't working, and I knew I needed to do something different. And so I took a leap. I took a huge leap. And a lot of people take the step-by-step approach, and that's great. Some people like me, I had to take a huge leap. I literally just walked away from an entire 20 plus year career where I was a leader in the industry and went in a completely different direction. And as a result of going in that different direction, I had to experiment a lot. I had an art gallery and healing art center for a couple of years, which was sticks and bricks. It was like a location. And that worked for a while. And then it became clear that as my son was growing, I needed to attend to him in different ways. More presence had to be here at the house. And when it came time to enter into adolescence, I just knew I had to leave the art gallery behind and I had to do something completely different and create a business, which is what I have now, that would allow me to be totally mobile and allow me to have, like, every shift I've made has been more freedom, more flexibility, more freedom, more flexibility, more freedom, more flexibility. How can I create even more freedom, even more flexibility in my life? So virtual speaking has been a huge part of that, doing just exactly what we're doing right now. I love technology because it has given me access to the whole world, to hear my message, to share my gifts, to express myself and my purpose. And it's given me the freedom and the flexibility to be the kind of mom I want to be.
I love that story because, in the audience we have many, many women who have small children, or they have the dream of having babies. And they have the idea that when you have the baby, you are housebound, and as they grow older, you need less and less flexibility. I love that you're telling the opposite, because
It's really,
this
it
is
really
the
is the
truth.
opposite.
This is the
Really is the
truth.
opposite. And to have the foresight. So for me, I didn't initially have the foresight, but by the time I got to his, 14th birthday, it was really clear. I had the foresight at that point. I said, I want a totally mobile business by the time he's 18 so that I can travel anywhere I want and go anywhere I want. Because yes, I have been here at the house as a parent, and I've been traveling with, virtually around the world. But I had a goal for myself that I want to now be able to travel to exotic locations myself. And when he, reached that age last September, it was a big shift for me. And now I'm again in that place in my own business where I'm not going to, completely walk away from what I've created, but I'm definitely starting to tweak it in ways that allows me to again have more freedom, more flexibility. And what's interesting when they get older is, when they get older, the amount of time that they're willing to give you is a lot less. But if they are willing, if there's a moment when they're willing, I want to be ready. Do you know what I mean? I want to be able to stop everything and say, yeah, I can talk to you right now. Because if they're coming to you at the older age, it takes a lot for them. It actually takes a lot for your children to come to you as they get older, to really still allow themselves to be vulnerable with you. So again, being available has been a high priority for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Beautiful. This subject of more freedom, more flexibility, more freedom, more flexibility is the concept of abundance of time, of abundance of life, abundance of possibilities. And I like very much, that's something that I want you to explain, that this lady is so mindful and conscious that she says, oh, look at that.
Here's my kitty.
That she feels in her heart when her inner guidance or her observed team tells her to, Amethyst, now you slow down. Now you accelerate. I want you to talk about that because it's very beautiful how you do it.
Sure. One of the things I've learned, and one of the things that I teach the women, I usually work with women entrepreneurs, visionary women entrepreneurs who have a message, who are aware, who are called to share a message. And I do have a few very wise men that I serve. So just let me throw that in there. But I do teach that it's super important to be connected not only to natural rhythms and cycles like spring, summer, autumn, winter, but also to your own rhythms and cycles. And what allows an entrepreneur really to be successful is to align your business so that so that your business itself aligns with your natural rhythms and cycles. If we're going to go to the trouble of creating our own business, if we're going to go to the trouble of becoming that messenger, of really sharing our gifts with the world, there has to be some benefit for us, and it has to be a fit. The business model itself has to be a fit. And what I've discovered for myself is I have natural rhythms and cycles that I've tracked. And the only way to do that is really to pay attention. You have to pay attention to yourself. You have to look at how things are flowing in your life. I loved the video segment that you did about being like water. That was such a gift for me. Thank you for that. Um, and and I have learned how to track and say, oh, during this time of year, I'm really productive. During this time of day, I'm really on. During this time of day, I'm useless and I should not be talked to. And so I'm really knowing myself. And I think there's like a Socrates, I think it was Socrates who said, know thyself. Some Aristotle or Socrates, some old philosopher said, know thyself. And it's really true. You've got to know your own rhythms and cycles, and you've got to practice what I call Jaguar medicine. In my tradition that I've been trained in the healing arts, in the Peruvian tradition, we work with Jaguar in the West, which is the direction that Jaguar represents in that tradition. And we learn to know when to act and when to be still. So Jaguar is really the queen of the jungle. And when we have our own entrepreneurship, we have to remember that we haven't just created another job for ourselves. We actually are the queen of our own entrepreneurship. So it should, serve us as much as we are serving it. And knowing when to act and when to be still allows us to take full advantage of our own energy flows and to like literally pounce when there's an opportunity in front of us that's the right opportunity and the right timing, and to just rest and relax and chill out and wait patiently, like the lounging jaguar, watching and storing energy, storing energy, storing energy when it's not time to pounce, right?
This is brilliant. I would like you to go a bit further with this because I remember once when you did a series of videos when you broke your wrist.
Yes.
Because we modern women, especially those ones out there who are listening, who went to university, and they know, and they, like the poster says, I can do it. They don't listen.
I can do it all.
They don't listen. And what happens when they don't listen?
Yeah. So what happens when we don't listen? And I have certainly gone through, multiple occasions where I wasn't listening. So what happens is, there's the whisper that comes, and the whisper feels like dissatisfaction. It feels like there's a little bit of like scratching the fingernails on the chalkboard. It's just like a little. It's not. Something's not lining up just exactly right. Right. So it kind of starts out like that, and I think what I've noticed for myself, and is probably true for most people, is when that thing is happening, I'm actually literally what's happening is my head is getting disconnected from my heart. Right? It's like my head is just totally getting disconnected from my heart. And that's an opportunity right there to just get back in alignment and reconnect with your heart again. But a lot of times we don't listen. A lot of times we don't pay attention to that little, and then all of a sudden we get the crash and break our wrist or, whatever. In my case, I broke my wrist. And what was interesting when that happened was I was stuck in a place of not only can I do it all, but if I'm not doing it, it's not going to get done correctly. And what I've learned over time in my entrepreneurship is that I am just good enough to be dangerous at a lot of things. And I am not good enough to be great at a lot of things. So when I get to that place where I'm attempting to do something where I'm just good enough to be dangerous, those are the places where I need to pay attention. Am I in my greatness? and ask myself that question. Am I in my greatness? Is this feeding me? Or is there someone else? Like, do I really need to do this? Or is there someone else who is more capable, more efficient, more willing to do it? And as a bonus, they actually love doing it, right? So when I broke my wrist, at that point in my journey, I was trying to be a website like designer of my own stuff. And I didn't know, I mean, just it was such an off track from what I'm really here to be doing. And there was a level of frustration in me because I could see in my mind what I wanted and I couldn't make it come out on the computer. And so I would spend hours and this was several years ago. I would spend hours and then the universe just came along and broke my wrist.
Fantastic.
I said, enough of that, enough. And that was such a blessing, such a gift, because I had somebody who actually came in and her business was called Extra Hands.
Oh, wow. Extra hands for the...
Yeah, and she took over and she shifted a bunch of things around that I never would have known about. And so I think what happens when we get into that space in our heads where we feel like we have to do it all, we're really shutting down our connection to our source, and we're really shutting off our ability to not only receive amazing service from people who really love doing their thing, but we also shut ourselves off to receiving great clients and great experiences in our business where we could be serving at our genius. So the more shut down we become, the louder that sound is, and so I would definitely recommend that anybody who's hearing that that you listen when it's just that little sound, because I've grown to know that I don't need to hear it 3 times, because by the time it's the 3rd time, it's so loud and so disruptive. It's such a disruption to every other part of your life. It's a disruption to your parenting. It's a disruption to your relationships, your interpersonal relationships with the people you love. It's disrupting to your team. It's destructive if you don't listen earlier in the process. And that's been a learning for me, and I'm really grateful for it. I had a team meeting today, and we have a new team player on my team. And man, I'll tell you, when you've made the right decision to move to get more support, holy cow, it was fabulous. We got done our team meeting in under an hour. I felt like we had such a spaciousness created, and she is eager to take things off of all of our plates, not just mine, but the plates of the other people on the team. And such a blessing. And my whole body feels relaxed. I mean, like I can be still now. I can feel like I can be still now because I made the executive decision to get help.
Yeah, you can be here now with me answering this question instead of thinking, oh, did I send that email? Does my website do this? Oh.
Exactly. And I think, this whole idea of getting help, it applies in a lot of different areas. It's not just delegating the administrative tasks. I think we as helpers ourselves, if we're not getting help, then we can't congruently go out and help others. And so help comes, in my mind, in many forms. It comes in the form of mentorship or coaching in the area where you most want to grow yourself or feel most challenged. I mean, that's another form of help is mentorship and coaching. So when I grow, I grow in both. I try to grow in 2 directions. Like I grow in my team, building, a sort of bigger and bigger support system for the vision and the message. So my business, my team is really there to feed into the vision of getting this message to more and more people, the message of being a messenger and of holding a space of powerful transmissions to the people who are here to hear and who have challenges that I am uniquely designed to solve. I also want to grow myself in in other areas of my life, both professionally in my business, but also in my personal life. So if I become single-mindedly focused on one thing, then I've become single. You know, I've become not just single, but I've become it's almost like we dry up. You get
Yeah.
dried up when you're
Yes.
single-mindedly focused on only one thing. You lose the juice that makes you lose the why behind why you're doing it in the first place. So I'm now in a space where I want to create more space in my business, more freedom, more flexibility, more support in my business, so that I have more freedom, flexibility, and support available to me to date again and travel and be present for my son on the tiny little occasions that he might decide he wants to talk to me
Awesome.
and to just create that spaciousness and also to get help for myself in areas where I know I could use a little bit more help. So right now I'm seriously looking at how can I be more physically fit. I would like to feel even more healthy, even more strong. So I'm back to my yoga mat. I'm, looking for mentorship in that area, and I'm going to circle back around and connect with my yoga teacher. How can I grow my business more efficiently? I have a mentor that's working with me on that. So, as I open up here, I also open up here so that I'm growing in both directions, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's kind of like a plant. I'm thinking about a plant. A plant puts deeper and deeper roots in and grows more and more towards the sky and the sun. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. And this has a reflection towards your inside relationships to with your son and with your outside relationships, because I bet that the people who are listening to you are seeing another part of your reality. How does this reflect? How does that mirrors the because you're talking from the perspective up down.
Hmm.
How do you see it from this perspective?
Well, I have to share with you something really interesting. Today, we got a brand new mattress for my son's bedroom. And as we were waiting for the mattress guy to come, he started reading something to me. And it was very interesting. It was about ego and about man's battle with himself and this whole like paragraph. And I was like, wow, that is great. Where did that come from? He said, I wrote it. So when you talk about this, there is this up down, but there's also like all this fruit that's falling off the tree, right? Literally, it's falling off the tree. And by me standing in my power and being the messenger that I'm here to be and continually modeling my own growth experience, there has been a fallout, so to speak, and an activation of my son into some role as a messenger that he might have. And he has begun to gather around him people um, who want to hear what he has to say. And he's becoming quite the little philosopher. And I love it because when I hear something like that come out of him or out of clients, I've worked with a lot of clients, and when my wisdom gets passed on and what I've channeled through gets passed on to clients, and then I hear them not necessarily repeating what I've said, but getting results from what I've said. It's like there's this beautiful rippling effect that's going on, and this fruitfulness that is what I call generative. It's really all these seeds of light have been planted everywhere, and it's generative and it's creative, and it is usually very highly monetizable because the more generative you are, the more you are mirroring the wealth of the universe, and you're mirroring the wealth of wisdom that you're being gifted with. And so wealth is then begins to naturally be attracted to you. And I believe that we are here actually to convert our wealth of wisdom into monetary wealth that we can then redistribute in wise ways. And that is part of the role of the messenger. So it's learning how to be in balance with money and receiving money and generating money and redistributing money. So I'm redistributing money to my team. I'm redistributing money to my mentors. I'm redistributing money to my son. And I'm redistributing money to philanthropic pursuits. So I have an organization that's a beneficiary of my business that gets 10% of my net proceeds called the Life is Good Playmakers. So what's beautiful is that there's just all this capacity for growth and generation that is able to happen when you set yourself up for success with a clear message, with the right mentorship support, with the right, I call it divine business design. That's something I do with people. I help them with a VIP day called Divine Business Design Day, where I say, let's look at your life and what you want to create that's going to give you the lifestyle that you want to have. And when you set yourself up with all of that, then the universe responds and rewards you for it handsomely.
I would like to bring now to the table, let's say, our audience thinking, well, am I a messenger? What are you talking about? Could I be doing what Amethyst is saying? Uh, what would you say to these people as step one?
Great question. So I actually have tracked and mapped out something that I call Messenger Mountain. And Messenger Mountain is awesome. AWESOME. So the A is at the base of the mountain, and that's awakening. That's where you wake up and you suddenly like, whoa, I have something that I need to share. Like you feel that calling. Like something has happened to me and I feel like I need to let other people know about it, right? So for me, initially, I went through this huge healing process back about a dozen years ago that I was suddenly awake. I had this awakening. And when you have that awakening, it's kind of undeniable. For me, I saw angels going up and down a golden white staircase in the park while I was in a yoga pose. And my third eye opened, and that was not my normal experience. I had been a real estate developer, so it was a huge shift for me. So awakening is where we start, and then we go into W, and W is kind of wandering and wondering. And so the question that you just asked me is like, am I a messenger? Am I really a messenger? What does that mean? What does that look like? I don't understand it. So we go through this phase of wandering and wondering. And then we go into the E, and the E is where we start to explore and discover other communities of like-minded people. So whoever's listening to this is at least in the E phase. You're exploring, you're finding other communities of like-minded people, you're getting educated. You may be called to get certifications. That happens sometimes. And then we move into the S. And at the S is where we're setting up to serve and succeed. That's when we really recognize, oh, yes, I am here to do something, and I'm now going to have to set up a business, right? To actually, I've now suddenly, not only am I a messenger, but I'm an entrepreneur too, right? Because most of us, if we are activated as messengers, there's not a job offering in the newspaper that says messenger wanted, unless the ones that are just carrying things from one office to the next, right? There's the old-fashioned kind of messenger. So when we get to setting up to serve and succeed, that's when we start to look for business coaching and mentorship and getting structure around how we want to organize ourselves. Then we have the O, and that's where we open to opportunity. And that's where a lot of times people will run into challenges because they don't really feel safe speaking or comfortable speaking. And when you're a messenger, that's part of the deal. You've got to speak. And so I find most of my people are in the SOME, S-O-M-E, although I do serve people when they're down in the awe as well, in a variety of ways. Most of my people are in the SOME, and they're setting up to serve, they're opening to opportunity, and they're running into resistance around or confusion around what they want and how they're here to express themselves. And so they need support in finding their voice, feeling safe speaking. And then the M is monetizing. Of course, you've got to monetize. And so then they run into challenges in their relationship with money or in asking for money, having sales conversations. That can, I can feel already from here. There are people in the audience who are like, I have to sell
Money.
something. Oh my God, I have to sell something. And what I've discovered is there is a way to have selling conversations with people that allow them to feel safe and heard and allow you to express your message and see if it's a good fit. And I've actually developed a whole program called the Sell to Serve mentorship, because I think when you're selling from a position of service, you have to be literally holding a different energy than if you're just saying, oh, here, I'm selling this, bottle of water, or I'm selling this other person's system. When you're selling your own stuff, you can really run into a lot of challenges around claiming your own value, around recognizing the value of the results that you deliver. So I work with people in selling to serve and helping them with their relationship with money, and also readings. I mean, I did a reading for you, Blanca, to see your highest pathway to prosperity, and it was as a result of that reading that Parenting the Gods was born. So you can see, you personally have had the experience of what happens when it's time to make a shift and to create more money and open up to more opportunities. And then the top of Messenger Mountain is the last E is exponential exposure. And that's where you really are kind of on your peak, and you are being seen and heard and received as far and as wide as you are willing to go. So some people are meant to be regional, and that's okay. Don't beat yourself up if you're not on the international airwaves. It's okay to be regional. You're serving a purpose. Your Messenger Mountain and somebody else's Messenger Mountain may not be the same size. And it may be that you're regional for a while because you are committed to parenting, or maybe you say, I'm not doing anything regionally. I want to be international and totally virtual because you're committed to parenting, which is what I did. So recognize that this awesome Messenger Mountain, everyone has their own, and your exponential exposure and your peak is going to be different from mine, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that about you because, I've been going to this awesome ladder. I recognize it a lot. And I've been seeing mentors left, right, and center. And they tell you, you have to do this. Step one and two and three, because we are all the same. And it's almost like I don't know, a jacket or a uniform or a systems that don't fit everybody, really.
Yeah, I would agree that there are a lot of people out there who say, this is the system, do it my way, and you're going to have my success. And here's the my philosophy on that. I think it's valuable to have systems. I have systems in my own business. I have two different programs where I have systems that the systems are set up to structure a pathway. For me, it's like I'm building a bridge with my system. I'm building the bridge from where you are now to where you want to be with this system. However, people are not hamburgers. So McDonald's has a system for making one hamburger after another, the exact same way. You make this hamburger, then you make this hamburger, then you make this hamburger. People are not hamburgers. And so I have purposely and intentionally in my business chosen to have what I call a boutique style business, where yes, I have these systems, but when I work with somebody who has chosen to engage with me um, in a one-to-one kind of, or one to small group relationship, I absolutely want to be present for, just like I want to be present for my children, I want to be present for my clients and be able to serve their unique resistance, their unique block, their unique challenge within the context of this larger system that has an intent and a desired outcome that is what they invested for. Make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that combination because, of course, we need order,
Mm-hmm.
but to treat people like hamburgers, that's really sad. That's really sad, and sadly, we do see that in the marketplace, and that's something people should be really careful for.
Well, and when a mentor stands up and says, do my system and you'll get the same kind of results that I have, do my system and you'll become a 7-figure earner in 3 years, or do my system and you'll have, 100,000 clients in the next 15 minutes or whatever. There's a disservice, I think, that's happening there because no one has the same exact experience that I have. No one. No one has the exact same life lessons or opportunities or experiences that you have, Blanca. The best we can do is say, okay, this is how I did my business. Here's what I did. I did these things. I can take you through a process that will show you the way. And I personally want to also help you if you get stuck in the process. I'm not just going to give you the process and say, there you go, there's the process, we'll figure it out, right? Because I think that in order to really be empowered, we have to go through these learning experiences and have our own breakthroughs, our own insights, and our own internal world stirred up, and the gifts that are waiting there brought to the surface to really energize our trajectory, to really energize our momentum. If we just say, go through this, step-by-step puzzle thing here that I'm laying out for you, and I don't take into account that you might have stuff going on. You might be afraid to speak. I mean, I had one client, Blanca, who was a multi-5-figure invested in another mentorship program, and that mentorship program was all about speaking, and she was afraid to speak. She could not find her voice. And I helped her find her voice. And as a result of me helping her find her voice, she was then able to apply everything she had learned over here to become extremely successful with getting her message out, which was to serve women who had gone through divorce and help them to find a new relationships. And she called her business, when we were working together, Wings for Women. And as a result of our work together, she was able to go out and get herself seen on TV, like literally within weeks. And she was able to make the connection with the people that she was really here to serve. But if she had not gone through that process of finding her voice, all of the step-by-step guidance that she was getting, it was a huge investment that was going nowhere.
It's so powerful. This point of your inner power, your voice, with because this is in some circles considered soft. The techniques and the structures and the systems. That's the powerful thing. But no, I think the powerful thing is precisely that: your voice, your power, your ability to conquer those fears and those angst.
Yeah, and if you don't have confidence in your own ability to express yourself, if you're suppressing what you're really here to say, all of the tactics in the world are not going to make you successful. And I think, yes, there is a marriage between the two, but I believe 90% of it is internal. 90% of it is how you hold yourself, how you position yourself, and you can't so I want to talk a little bit about positioning yourself. You cannot position yourself authentically if you are posing. There's a difference between positioning and posing. And posing is when you're doing all the right moves, but you don't really believe it, right? You got that, hi, I'm here, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing all this stuff. And you don't really authentically own it. You don't really believe it because you're trying on somebody else's clothes, right? And so 90% of it, in my mind, is the internal work, and the 10% is what we show to the outer world. And when we are able to, and in fact, Blanca, some of the most successful people I know spend a vast majority of their time doing the inner work and discovering also for themselves the systems that work for them to help them be successful. So it is a marriage between the two. And I love working with people who recognize that all that we are creating comes from inspiration. Inspiration is bringing spirit in, and then we express it. So when we are really aligned with acknowledging, recognizing, and in gratitude for the fact that everything we're creating starts from the inside and comes from inspiration, then we will naturally be able to align with the highest and best expression of that inspiration. And I love to work with people who want both, who want to be deeply connected to their source and really feeding that spring of inspiration, that wellspring of inspiration that is really infinitely available to us. And they want to actually have practical, real world results, shifts that happen for them, growth that happens for them, impact that they are able to create. So I in my work, everything I build is a bridge between the spiritual and the practical. There are lots of wonderful spiritual people out there who they're just totally focused on making sure that you're connected to source. But then there's it's spilling out and there's no direction for it. Yeah. And I find a lot of people can get really overwhelmed when they get super connected to source, and then they're like on 24/7 and they're scattered all over the place. They're going in a million different directions and they're not really productive. They've got 27 unfinished projects lying around. So for me, it's really about having that bridge between both the spiritual and the practical world, and having that be, having results happen
absolutely
out of the process.
Absolutely. And I want to make the remark for again for our mothers that in my opinion, and I think you share this with me, is that that part of the spiritual work, that inspiration, can be precisely the work that we're doing right now. Uh, for me, a lot of the inspiration that I get for a lot of the things that I do, I get it when I am breastfeeding my daughter. And those moments when I am between asleep and awake are brilliant inspiration. So the spiritual exercise that is being parents is source for this kind of work that we're discussing here with Amethyst.
Well, and I love what you're pointing out too, that the times that we receive the most inspiration are usually the times when we are most still, right? Or most connected with our heart. So when you're breastfeeding, I mean, you're about as connected with your heart as you can possibly be. Your breasts are sitting right on top of it, right? And your child, you're creating this love field when you're nursing, and it's from that field of love that all inspiration comes from, I believe. And so when we can make the sacred space to wallow in the love field, right? To literally um, let ourselves be fed, let ourselves be fed spiritually by staying in that space of love and appreciation and gratitude and unconditional service. You know, when you're breastfeeding, that is pretty unconditional service. I don't think it gets more unconditional serving than that. So when we can be in that space, the more we cultivate that space, the more powerful we become as creators, as parents, as messengers, and then it becomes even more clear that you need to set up and structure yourself in a way that gives you a lot of spaciousness, flexibility, and freedom to go back to that well again and again and again, to be fed. Sometimes I get creative ideas, and I've come to a point in my journey, Blanca, where I've created what I call my cold storage, and I actually have it down in my basement. Because when you do tap into that creative field, sometimes it can be like, holy cow, there's a million things you could possibly do, right? So I've learned to be discerning about letting myself receive, because I don't want to shut off from inspiration, but also discerning, oh, this is a great idea, but is it the right time for this right now? Or is this something that needs to go into cold storage for later? And the one, it's funny because the one piece of creative work that really started me on this path to being a messenger, I wrote in 2003. It was my first experience of having a divine download. And in 45 minutes, I put it together, and it was a card deck. And the card deck was called Dance Through Your Divorce, a transformational toolbox for releasing your relationship and reclaiming your sacred self. And it was 45 cards, and I did little drawings, and I had all of the mantras and affirmations on, and the thing is still down in cold storage. It has not been created yet. It is still in cold storage, but it was a movement. It was a inspiration that got me going down this path initially back in 2010.
Because that's the other part of it, that there is no wrong step. Then it was great that you created it, but then should you go that path, then that's another decision.
Exactly. And some things, now I always have journals around, always. As a messenger, I highly recommend that you have journals around everywhere, just so that you can kind of capture things for yourself. And you're not holding it in your head anymore. And I have a variety of different journals in different parts of my house, so that I can capture creative ideas, I can capture inspiration to connect with people, I can capture quotations, so that I can just capture things. And then about every quarter, I usually go through a cleanse process. Usually, actually, it's not every quarter. I try and, because we were talking before about rhythms and cycles. So for me, Mercury retrograde is a really powerful window of time. It's like a 3.5-week period of time, about every 3.5 months. And when I go into Mercury retrograde, I review everything that I've kind of collected over the last 3.5 months, and I sort through it, and I say, oh, that's for cold storage. Oh, that we're going to throw in the fire. Oh, that's something that goes with this other thing that I've been working on. And then I do like a cleanse and review and reorganize of where I'm going. So that's one of my own natural rhythms and cycles. Is I actually look forward to Mercury retrograde, because I know I'm going to be pulling back and being reflective, primarily for 3.5 weeks.
Yeah, it's really blessed time for revisiting everything. It's really powerful. I could talk with you forever. I love you.
I love you too, Blanca.
And I think people love you by now very much. And I know people are going to be so addicted that they need to work with you. So I will put all your data here in the page below. But to say goodbye, I would like that you connect with your intuition. What is the last thing that you would like to tell people?
Well, I would like to tell you If you are called to be a messenger and you are equally or more committed to being a parent, that it is absolutely possible to do both, that it has been done and done successfully. In fact, I just did my numbers right before we got on our connection here today, Blanca, and I am $45 away from creating my first six-figure quarter in cash. In cash, that's not sales. I've actually already created a six-figure quarter in sales. This is a six-figure quarter in cash actually coming into my business. So $45 away, and I still have 6 more days till the end of the quarter. So it is absolutely possible. You can do it. You can have what you want in terms of a lifestyle that allows you to dedicate yourself to your parenting. You can also serve your purpose and your mission as a messenger. And as a messenger, you may not be the same kind of messenger I am or the same kind of messenger Blanca is. You will have your own unique message, and it will come from the soil of your life's experiences, and it will come from being inspired by spirit. So give yourself that sacred time and space, and remember to ask for help, because we are here to help. I am here to help. Blanca's here to help, and we are also here to be helped. So everyone helping everyone else is what advances the civilization. It's what advances the species. And so don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. Don't be afraid also to invest financially. There's one last piece I want to say is that your source of inspiration is also your source for finances, and it's your financial source. When you are tapped into your source of inspiration will provide your financial success as well. And a lot of times you might be called to invest before there's proof. And there's a difference between belief and proof. Belief is knowing that it's going to be there when you need it, and proof is asking the universe to prove itself to you, and it's really putting you in an adversarial position with your guides and with your source of inspiration. If your source can bring you a brilliant idea, it's not without money attached to it. Trust me. In some form. It may not be linear, it may be organic. It usually is organic.
It is organic.
Yeah. It's yes, it is organic. That's the truth. It is organic. It's rarely linear. So remember that as well. So take action, invest in yourself, trust in your source of inspiration.
Thank you very much, Amethyst. My dear parents, if you like this video, that I like it very much myself. Well, I like it here in YouTube or in the page where you find it. Subscribe to our channel, to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our newsletter. There we are going to share more things that we do not share through videos in YouTube. You get more surprises there, and share it with the world. Share it in all social media you have. And we would like to hear your voice. We would like to hear your comments, and especially Amethyst and myself would like to know what is for you to be a messenger, and how does that connect with you being a parent? Let us know, what does it mean for you to be a messenger, especially in connection with being a parent. So thank you very much for being here with us today. And remember, live powerfully.